Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Make a Change. My name is Katharina Schuster, I am your host and this is episode 20. Woohoo! Alright, so today I'm gonna make this a little bit personal. Not that it's never personal, but it is about my own experience and I believe it can maybe help you too. At least I'm hoping so. It is actually something that I did have experience with a lot of my clients as well. My clients kind of went through a same experience like myself. And this is also where it becomes really relatable between coach and client, because the client understands, oh, my coach is not perfect either. My coach also was procrastinating and didn't achieve their goals because of X, Y, Z. And this is exactly what we are going to talk about today. So, excuse me for a minute, I need my water. All right, I got my water. Get your water as well, get a coffee, or it's gonna be a little bit of a juicy one. Get a glass of wine. I'm not gonna have wine because otherwise that's not gonna be a good episode. All right, guys. So I was a person, I always had goals. Like from a young age, I was dancing. So dancing is really competitive. It was about being slim. And I was actually really good at not eating, to get really, really skinny, which was a goal of mine back then. It's not a goal that I'm very proud of because actually it did a traumatic, I put a traumatic toll on myself in a negative way and it wasn't healthy. And I understood that today when I'm like in my late 30s. But back then it was just what it is. And what I'm really scared of is that this skinny is coming back with all of the GLP-1s. GLP-1s are being misused. I'm not saying it's not a great tool. It can be certainly a great tool, but I feel like it's getting misused a lot and doctors just prescribing it like painkillers. That is at least my opinion. Please tell me when I'm wrong. But anyways, it's not about GLP-1s here today. I think I got a little bit of a slight ADHD going on because I'm realizing myself I'm always jumping from one topic to another topic without really finishing a topic. I think it's an ADHD trait. I'm not diagnosed or anything. I don't really have anything else that is related to ADHD apart from my talking. All right, so I was also doing judo. So my mom just put me in all sorts of things. I was also being a firefighter from the age of 15. I'm still a firefighter these days, actually. Which all of those things that really forced me to stick to standards, stick to plans. Like I always had like a dance geography to learn. I always had a gig in terms of dancing, so a way of like I need to diet down. In martial arts, the way how I looked wasn't really that important, but there was also like weight groups. And in terms of firefighting, nobody cares how you look like in firefighting. In firefighting, it was, I think, a really good way of being responsible, of understanding how to help people, what it means being a firefighter. I think, and also like really just, I think what firefighting taught me is like being responsible for a person, being responsible for situations, being responsible when there's a call out, and also feeling proud that you're doing something not for yourself, doing something for community, doing something for another person. I think this has really put me into a very good position actually in my life, a really good characteristic of mine. It started at some point when I And I never really had weight problems as well, really. I had my, later on, I developed a mild eating disorder. I wouldn't call it an eating disorder. I need to be careful with the wording that I'm using. It was definitely disordered eating behaviors, which I believe started in young ages, but I wasn't aware of that because at this time I didn't really know anything about eating disorders or disordered eating behaviors, or that there's even a difference, or what food meant. I had no idea of nutrition. I was just doing it, you know. Like probably 10 years after that, I only started studying nutrition and started educating myself. So everything what came back, like, I think it started when I left Germany. No, it started when I started my apprenticeship in the hotel. Suddenly, I wasn't good enough anymore. Like, my bosses just kept yelling at me. I had eczema all over my body, which really was a hard thing for me because I was always really prone to the way how I looked. And like having eczema all over my body, my face, my hands, everything that I can't really cover, was really putting down my confidence. And I had this for many, many years until my mid-20s actually. Even when I was dancing back then, I already had that. What I didn't realize was, like, everyone told me it's about allergies, which I had back then a lot. It was about like certain foods that I was eating, but none of them, but nobody actually thought about it would be mental, which I didn't know myself. Only later on, when I actually left Germany, suddenly things became better. Like my skin suddenly got better. All of that was basically, I stopped doing all of these things that was causing me problems. But that was not causing me problems, but putting me in a mental state that was not serving me, which I was never aware of it. I actually, like with dancing, martial arts and everything, I really had fun doing those. But all the pressure that I had from the teachers, from the other dancers, in my apprenticeship in the hotel, all of these things, I have good experiences, but because of the negative aspect of it, I put myself down without really realizing it. And I started drinking, and I smoked as well, which I'm not proud of. And I got in a really, really bad place. So I finished my apprenticeship and stopped doing that all. And I actually left Germany. So I started working in Ireland in a finance department. So they did offer training on the job. So in Germany, you wouldn't be having that kind of things like training on the job. You actually have to study it or have to make an apprenticeship. Otherwise, you would have never get a chance. But in Ireland, they had the opportunity. Everyone gets a chance, which was really nice. So I applied for this company, and they offered me training on the job. So I had a trial, but yeah, I passed this trial and got employed. And suddenly everything changed. Like my skin got really good, and I even did realize I didn't really have all of these allergies anymore. Like I still have one significant allergy, which is to fish, and I do have hay fever. But all of the other things, which I got told I'm like lactose and gluten intolerant, allergy to all sorts of ingredients, which forced me to go on a really restrictive diet back then, which kind of told me I'm not allowed to eat all the fun foods basically. And and then I realized I started eating, like drinking milk again. I ate like all sorts of products that had gluten in it, which is mainly bread and pasta and these kind of things that had gluten in it, and I never had a problem with that. So I believe that all of these allergies or those reactions were not actually down to an intolerance or an allergy. It was actually down to my mental state. And yeah, so once I realized that, I was actually a really different person, and I was more open and more present. So that was that season of my life. And that contract then in Ireland finished, and I swapped companies in Ireland once, and then that second contract that I was on was only limited, because I was basically I was replacing a woman who was on maternal leave. Yeah. So, and after her baby, um, uh, like after 6 months, I think baby got to childcare, or maybe someone else was looking after it. She came back to work, and so I had to leave. But I knew that because that was set in my contract, and I wasn't really sure of what to do. So a friend of mine told me, "Why don't you go to Australia?" I said, Australia, never really thought of it. Thought of it going to Australia, seeing the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge, and um, what's that rock in the middle of Australia? Ayers Rock. I thought about visiting them like as a holiday, but I never actually thought of going to Australia long term. And I said, okay, I got some information, went there, and then a complete new season of my life started. Because when I was in Ireland, I didn't have the dancing anymore, I didn't have the firefighting anymore, I didn't have my judo anymore, so I actually kind of was lost again. So I joined my first gym. I think I was 25 back then. And then when I was like 30, I moved to Australia. And then I continued with gym, and suddenly kind of a rush came over me because I saw my body changing after I stopped. Like, there was a lot of happening in those between 25 and 30. Like, I got more knowledge and training and nutrition and things that haven't studied at this time, but I just educated myself. And then in Australia, I actually had a PT, and then I realized what training actually means, that going through a workout and actually training are two different things. So I stopped training shit and started actually training, and I like adjusted my nutrition as well, and I actually really saw these changes in my body. And that was after 5-6 years of training. And I thought like, that's so cool. So, and the main thing that really helped me was, or what really fascinated me, what was my passion, was the nutrition. So I had a personal trainer certification, but then I did on top, I studied a diploma in health science and nutrition. Because as a personal trainer, you're actually not allowed to give nutrition advice. I think you can give some nutrition advice based on the Australian guidelines of healthy eating, but you're not allowed to do anything beyond that. And I wanted to go beyond. That's why I started studying. And I felt like a complete new person at this time. And I was so great and so grateful, I mean. And I wanted to start my own business. That was like in the last 5 years when I had this idea. And I did start my own business, but I was really bad. Like, I was just like in the gym, but I always wanted to work online. So I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to work online, because actually I live quite remote in Australia. So I always wanted to work from home. But I actually I decided to drive between Pine Creek and Darwin, which is a 2-hour drive, back and forth to just be present in the gym, and it burned me out. But I just didn't go online because firstly I didn't know how. I only knew how once I actually hired a coach who was specialized in that. And if you want her contact details, let me know. I will give you her contact details. She's absolutely amazing. And yeah, she really helped me to change the way how I'm looking at things. And over the last 2 years, I proactively worked on my mindset. So the main problem why I didn't move my business online and started actually working for myself was that I kind of turned back into the Kate who was working in the hotel, having no confidence and having eczema over the whole body. I didn't get eczema anymore, but I kind of like mentally was back that person who had no confidence, because I had a really big fear of what if I fail? Do I get broke? How do I get clients? Or what if nobody wants to work with me online? I also had like this kind of job change really had me forced me to focus at home, being more present with my work for an extended period of time, which kind of led me to not being able, like going out for events, going down, having drinks with friends and stuff. And also I knew, because I had physical goals, these kind of things wouldn't serve me anyways, having physical goals. So I was really like scared that I would be sitting alone when I have all of these goals that are just being by myself, and nobody would be looking out for me. I had kind of FOMO, like missing out, like fear of missing out. And I was, limiting self-belief, can I really do it? And fear of failure. So what I have learned is failure is only when you give up. I had actually lots of failures in throughout my, like ups and downs. I should call them downs, not failure, because failure is only when you're quitting. So I actually went broke twice, but I got myself back up again twice. So that was in the time when I was working as a face-to-face trainer in the gym. And I knew that I worked up myself again, but this time I was so scared of going broke again, because I didn't have the gym in the background as a source of getting leads. So getting leads was all on me now. I didn't have the gym anymore that helped me to get leads. And I think this was the main thing that I was kind of procrastinating on. I thought, maybe I wait until I have more clients. Maybe I wait until I have better visibility on Instagram. Maybe I wait until I have saved up more money to actually help me if money income is going low. I was always waiting. But this waiting was just getting me further and further away from my goals. And the problem with the waiting was that I was scared of failing, scared of going broke again, really. And this is just kind of the limiting self-belief, that I had no trust in my own process and didn't believe in myself that I can actually do it. So over the last 2 years, I really was working on to that. You all probably know Tony Robbins. His 30 Day of Power, what you can actually get for free on YouTube, helped me to do that. Another person I'm following in Instagram is Natalie Dawson. She is amazing. She kind of went through a similar stage like myself. These days she's a multi-millionaire, if not even a billionaire, running a company, big fattest company. So I'm using her frameworks, I'm using Tony Robbins, and all of that combined, and the coach that I had, all of these sources, really I took all of them to help me. Now I don't have any coaches in my life at the moment. Maybe I get a coach again in the future, not sure yet. But the thing was, I have all of the information, I have all of the mindset work done. Now it's on me to actually take action, and I have understood that. And last year, the breakthrough moment that I had was, I need water again. The breakthrough moment that I had was just before New Year's Eve, last year in December 2025, when I was sitting in, where were we? In Langkawi, Malaysia. I was sitting there. 2026 is not going to be another year. I'm sitting here on New Year's Eve thinking, this year I'm gonna achieve my goal. I know I was capable of achieving my goal, but I didn't do it. In 2026, I promised myself I will be sitting on New Year's Eve being proud that I have achieved everything that I put up myself. Everything that I promised myself I will be doing, I will have achieved on New Year's Eve 2026. And all of them was down to not having trust in myself. So, a quick framework for you guys. Firstly, as we know, setting up goals is easy and exciting. Following through with goals, not so sexy, not so exciting. So setting up a goal is easy. So what you need to do is, what is your goal? Ask yourself the question, why do you want to achieve this goal? And really thoroughly think it through, because that why needs to be a big fat as why. Then the third question is, what would happen if you do not follow through achieving this goal? And again, that needs to be significant. It needs to be painful. This is where the Tony Robbins is coming through. And then set up a plan. What can I do today to get myself further to achieve my goals? And then write up a plan. What do you have to do every single day? And set up a deadline. On this day, I will have achieved my goal. What do I have to do every week to do that? How do I have to increase the volume? Like, think about when you want to build muscle. You start with a workout program and eventually your body will adapt. To continue building muscle, you need to increase the volume and the intensity of your workout. Same as with any other goal. You start in 1 week, doing this every single day of the following weeks, but then you have to increase the intensity and the volume. So it needs to go bigger and bigger and bigger to have achieved your goal. And these are the 4 steps of how you are going to achieve your goals and sitting in New Year's Eve 2026 being proud of yourself. I've done it. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful. And please let me know in the comments how you feel about this. If you also have been struggling with limiting self-belief and how did you get yourself out of it? Would be really, really interesting to have an idea of what your story is. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. My name is Katharina Schuster Coaching. I'm really preaching what I'm saying. And yeah, if you do want, I'm not a mindset coach. I am a physique and nutrition coach, actually. So follow me on my Instagram. It's Katharina Schuster Coaching. I'm posting there every day evidence-based nutrition training as well as mindset, which is really important. I hope that came throughout this episode. And yeah, I see you in the next one. My name is Katharina Schuster. This is my podcast, Make a Change, and let's make a change. See you next one. Bye.